Hello everybody, I see a few of you are already tuning in. We're going to get started here in just a minute or two. Hi Katie, hi Sally, we miss both of you too. Hey everybody out there, my name is Yankoski. I'm the Senior Entomologist here at the Butterfly House. Wow, what a week, what a month. We really miss having all of our guests being able to come and see our butterflies and visit with us here in the conservatory. So we wanted to come to you live right here at the Butterfly House in our tropical conservatory and show you a little bit about what we still have going on here and share our butterflies with you because you can't come and see us in person. So today, or well yesterday, would have been the official end of Morpho Mardi Gras, but we still have lots of blue Morpho butterflies here in the conservatory. So as we walk around, be watching for them. You will see lots of our blue Morpho butterflies flying around. You can see a few playing right there. Now what a lot of people see as butterflies playing or flying, it's actually mostly for the blue Morpho butterflies is them being territorial. A lot of the blue Morpho butterflies really like to stake out the good sunny spots where they could watch for food or watch for females to fly by. Now, one of the questions we get asked a lot is what does it take to have a butterfly house like this? And a lot of people think that me as the entomologist here, that I do a lot of the work, but the truth is all of the credit really belongs to our amazing horticulture team. When you are building a butterfly house, you want to build it around the plants. To have healthy, happy butterflies, you need lots of happy, healthy plants that are going to be producing lots of nectar. And so this entire building is built around having healthy plants. So it starts right from the top. If you look, all those glass windows let in lots and lots of light. Without that light, we wouldn't have healthy plants producing lots and lots of nectar. Our butterflies, most of them drink nectar. This here is a plumeria tree. It's in bloom. Oftentimes these flowers are filled with butterflies. There's none right now. It's a little bit of a funny part in the day for them. They've had their breakfast and they haven't quite had their lunch yet, and so we won't see lots of butterflies feeding, but later in the day or earlier this morning you would have seen a lot of butterflies covered all over these plants. Fun thing about this plant right here, it is called plumeria. If you ever go to Hawaii and you get a natural lei, this is the preferred plant to make leis out of. Unfortunately, Facebook Live does not come equipped with smell-o-vision, which is too bad because these orchids right here are very, very fragrant. And if you were around them right now, it would smell like there was perfume all over in the air. Now, there are a few insects that will visit orchids to get nectar, but for the most part, butterflies don't visit orchids too much, and they're mostly just here for our guests to appreciate. And since we are closed, we wanted to show you on Facebook Live how beautiful these blooms are so you can at least appreciate them while social distancing. Now, not all butterflies visit flowers for food. A lot of people may notice that we have many different fruit trays spread around the garden. Now, this one right here has mango and honeydew melon, and we often will put bananas and other fruits out as well. Butterflies, especially a lot of the larger rainforest butterflies, many of them never visit flowers for food. Things like our blue morpho butterflies and our owl butterflies only utilize fruits, tree saps, sometimes even a little bit grosser things like they will even visit carrion in the wild. They like nutrient-rich, sort of liquidy things, and they never visit flowers for food. Here in the conservatory, we put out lots and lots of bananas for them, and they're very happy. Now, we are doing our best to take advantage of this closure as best we can so that when we reopen, there's going to be lots of new things for our guests to see. One thing our horticulturists are very excited about are these cool new ferns that are going in. Now, I've been told that these ferns can grow as tall as a house. So right now, they're only about 4 or 5 feet tall, but it'll be really exciting for us to see how tall they can get here in our tropical conservatory. And I like to point out something neat about the name of this species. It is Dixiona antarctica. Now, I know that ferns don't grow in Antarctica, but I'm very curious how it got that name. You'll see that we have lots of other new exciting plants going in. We have all sorts of interesting foliage plants over here, and then there's more nectar plants going in the closer we get to our south wall. This plant right here is very, very tall growing up there. It's called Siggeria, and I'm going to travel over to a different Siggeria plant we have here. This Siggeria is one of the most important plants that we have in our tropical conservatory. It is no coincidence that you see all of these little butterflies right here flying around it. Those are called long-wing butterflies. We get them from Costa Rica and Ecuador. And these butterflies have done what's called co-evolution with this plant. They have evolved to need the pollen in order to live their full life. If they have the pollen, if they have access to the pollen from these plants, they will gather it up on their proboscis, that's their special mouth part that looks sort of like a straw, and they will actually liquefy it outside of their body. They start digesting it bunched up on their proboscis. They turn it into sort of a giant protein smoothie and then slurp it up. That's one way that these butterflies have figured out how to eat solid food, which is really cool. Most butterflies cannot do that. If they have access to this plant, these butterflies can live 3 months, 4 months, or even longer. One of these butterflies holds the record for the longest lived butterfly in captivity. A marked individual, so they knew it was the same butterfly, lived at a butterfly house in Canada for 387 days, which is a very long time. That's over 1 year for one butterfly to be alive. Most of our butterflies live maybe a little bit less than a month. So for it to live 3 or 4 months is a very long time, and to live a year is incredible. Here are some of our other nectar plants. I think that's a giant Mormon flies by. This here is called pentis, or starflower. Now, if you look at the flowers, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 petals. And so that's how they get their name pentis, which means 5. And right next to it is a really cool plant called cat's whisker. And I think it's kind of obvious how it got its name because it looks like little cat whiskers. And our butterflies love both of them. So I gave you a little sneak peek at our fruit trays. And in just a minute here, I'm going to show you how we make them. But first, I'm going to show you something really cool that I think we could only do over Facebook Live. So this right here is called a pitcher plant, Nepenthes, and it is a carnivorous plant. That means that it produces these special leaves, modified leaves, that water and other fluids build up inside, and then insects accidentally fall down inside and they drown, and then the plant digests them. The plant eats those insects for nutrients. Now, I think we'll be able to show you through the magic of Facebook Live what's happening inside one of these pitchers. Here we go. There's lots of little teeny tiny fruit flies and gnats and other things that have fallen down inside there and are now being digested and turned into food for that pitcher plant. As you can see, this pitcher plant is pretty big, but in the wild there's some species that get much, much larger than this. Believe it or not, there's some pitcher plants that will even catch mice in the rainforest. So for those of you that have been here from the beginning, you saw some of our butterflies that are here in the cage. We'll be releasing them right at the end. For now, I'm going to set them down on the ground. We did have a couple questions that were submitted beforehand. Our first question comes from Landon, who's 7 years old, and I've been told he's watching right now. So hi, Landon, if you're out there. Thank you for sending us a question. His question was, what is the biggest butterfly? Now, in the entire world, the largest butterfly is the Queen Alexandria's birdwing butterfly. It's incredibly rare. It's an endangered species from Southeast Asia. A lot of birdwing butterflies are very large, but very geographically isolated, meaning they live in very tiny areas, oftentimes little individual islands in the ocean. And so they're very hard to come by in captivity. However, we do sometimes get this guy here, which is the green birdwing. This is one of my favorite butterflies, and this is one of the largest butterflies we get. This is a male. Hopefully we can see that. I might be able to see it a little bit better. He has incredible yellow and green and sort of almost a light blue color, along with a little red there on his thorax. This is one of the largest butterflies we get. We don't get very many of them. I think last year in total we only got 10. And this guy emerged just before we went live, and so it's really exciting that I could bring him out and show him to you. You can see he's hanging, his wings are still drying, and he's not ready to fly yet. So we're just gonna leave him in this case right now, but I wanted to show Landon that this is one of the largest butterflies we get. And it definitely belongs to the largest group of butterflies. The birdwing butterflies are almost all of them very, very large. This is a male. If this was a female, she'd be a lot less colorful and almost twice as big. Also, in our other emergence case, we have a magnificent owl butterfly, which is roughly the same size. Either one or the other could be considered our largest butterfly that we get. All right, so I'm going to show you how we make our fruit trays to feed our butterflies. Now we start with a tray like this, and we start with really ripe bananas. That's one of their favorite things. And we cut them in half, and you can be as artistic as you'd like, or just throw them on there. The butterflies don't really care. They're just happy to have lots of really sweet, liquidy fruits that they can sip from. So we've got some bananas there. We're gonna put a few grapes on there as well. Does anybody know what the grape says when it gets smushed? It lets out a little wine. There we go. So we're gonna mush up these grapes. They like to have some juices coming out so that the butterflies can easily get to them. If we didn't smush them up, it'd be a lot harder for our butterflies to feed. Now for what is either people's favorite parts or least favorite parts, we're gonna mush up all of these bananas and get them all goopy and soupy, and that helps them break down a little bit faster, and all those juices can come out, and then our butterflies can feed from them. And now for our secret ingredient. Okay, are you guys ready? You can promise to never tell anybody what our secret ingredient is. That's right, it's Gatorade. We apply a little bit of powdered Gatorade, just like that, to these mashed up fruits. And the butterflies, just like our athletes, like the sugars and electrolytes and salts that are in there, and it helps them stay nice and happy and healthy. It also keeps them from landing on our concrete paths around the conservatory, because if they didn't get the salts from foods like this, they might be more interested in getting salts from the ground, and well, we'd rather have them safe and sound up on the fruit trays. Normally we use lemon lime Gatorade so you don't see it, but I thought for today we'd use some blue Gatorade so it's nice and easy to see. So we're going to go ahead and put this over here. We may check on it in a little bit, but chances are there won't be any butterflies feeding from it today, because they'll probably be feeding in about an hour or two, and they've sort of had their breakfast, and now most of them are either resting or chasing each other around trying to stake out that good territory for the afternoon. Hello, Rachel. It's good to see you too. Hi, Colt. I see a lot of our members and frequent guests are here in the chat. If I missed anybody's questions, I promise I will answer them after the fact in the comments. There's a few messages going by really quickly, so if I miss them, I'm really sorry, but I promise I will answer them later. We also had a question come in earlier. I think it was also from Logan, who was asking about monarch butterflies and how they migrate. So, as most people know, the monarch butterflies will fly to Mexico every fall, and they spend the winter months kind of sheltered from the cold weather, but in a very cool place on the mountains in fir forests in central Mexico. In the spring, these monarch butterflies will slowly move their way further north. Generation by generation, they move further north until by the late summer they've reached as far north as Canada. And then about every fourth generation, trying to figure out how they do it for many years. What we do know is that they respond to changes in day length and changes in the position of the sun, both of which tells them that winter is coming, that it's going to get cold, their food is going to go away, and it's time to go south so that they can escape those cold months that are coming. They fly south to Mexico as adults, but the interesting part about their development is that they don't fully develop as adult butterflies. They are not capable of reproducing until after they've spent a few months in Mexico. Once spring comes along, the day length has changed a little bit. The sun is communicating with them that it's spring. They will start to move north. And as they travel north, they finish their development. And as they move north, milkweed is starting to grow out of the ground, and they begin laying eggs along the way. And that starts the entire migration back north. And that happens every single year here in the United States. We have two different migrating groups of butterflies. You have the western migration, which is mostly in California, Oregon, Washington, and the Pacific Coast states. And then pretty much everything east of the Rocky Mountains is a different group. They make their way to Mexico, whereas many of the ones in the western states overwinter in Southern California. Here's another one of our longwing butterflies. It's a golden longwing that just made an appearance down below. So there's been a few questions asked about what you can do to attract butterflies at your own house. And we really encourage people to plant native perennial plants. Native wildflowers are the best way to attract butterflies to your own house. Putting out things like this fruit tray here, which there was a malachite butterfly that I startled a little bit. There's a blue morpho flying by. If you put out things like bananas and fruits, you won't attract many butterflies at your own house. You'll get mostly ants and flies and yellow jackets. So what we always recommend is you plant native tropical Missouri plants. We recommend that you plant plants that bloom for all 3 seasons of when your butterflies are active, which are spring, summer, and fall. So if you have plants that are blooming all three of those times, you'll have very happy butterflies visiting your house. You can also plant host plants, which are food for the caterpillars. The most famous one perhaps is milkweed, which is a host plant for the monarch butterflies we were just talking about. Here's one of our blue morpho butterflies. Even though it is bright blue on the outside, you can see when we sneak up on it that it is sort of a chocolate colored camouflage pattern on the outside. If a blue morpho butterfly is showing off its blue when it's on the ground, predators like birds would be able to find it and home in on it and maybe eat it. So as soon as they land, they hide that blue color. However, when they're flying, that blue color blends in with the sky and it makes it very hard for predators like birds to track them in the air. And it kind of works as almost like a bird radar jammer so that birds can't catch them as they're flying. And so some people have said that they've planted some flowers and they haven't gotten many butterflies. Sometimes it takes a little while for the butterflies to find them. Sometimes you just got to get lucky, or maybe you got unlucky. We've had summers where we've only ever found a few caterpillars in our back garden, although most years we'll go out and we'll find dozens or maybe even hundreds. It just sometimes you get bad luck, but it's still important to plant those plants out there. Oftentimes you'll have butterflies coming through and feeding, or maybe even laying eggs and caterpillars that you don't see. And so we always recommend planting, even if it can be a little bit of a bummer if you don't see the results right away. All right, so I'm going to put this camera on our butterflies here, and I'll be reviewing some of the questions, and I'll see if there's any questions to answer while we wait and see if these butterflies are going to fly out on their own. This is our transfer cage. On most days we would have about 100 butterflies to fly out. Since we are closed, we have reduced the number of butterflies we've gotten a little bit. So we only have a couple dozen butterflies today, and only about a dozen of them are ready to fly right now. But on most days, we'd have about 100 butterflies that we release every single day. That brings our total to almost 40,000 butterflies a year that we release here into the conservatory. There we go. So Johnny, aged 11, asked, where are their taste buds? Now, butterflies have a couple really cool ways of tasting things. Like us, they can taste things that come into their mouth through their proboscis. They sort of have taste buds there. They can analyze if it's good nectar, if it's high in sugar and high in energy. But one of the cool things about butterflies is they have, we'll call them taste buds, they're a little bit different, but they can taste with their feet. So as soon as they land on a plant, if it's a mother butterfly looking to lay eggs, she can know right away if it's the correct plant, because caterpillars are very specific about the plants they'll eat as a caterpillar. And so if a mother butterfly makes a mistake and lays an egg on the wrong plant, there won't be any food for that baby caterpillar when it hatches. So it's really important that she understands from the moment she lands on that leaf if it is food and she can taste it. Also, there's some evidence that they can taste the nectar when they land on a plant too, and they can figure out if there's good sort of good sugars available. Sometimes even flowers will produce sugars called extra floral nectaries, which are special little sugar crystals outside of the flower, which are a bonus treat for these pollinators that come and visit. So Max from Arkansas would like to know, what is the smallest butterfly at the butterfly house? Right now, the smallest butterfly we get is called the Costa Rican clearwing butterfly. Its scientific name is Greta Otto. That's Gretaoto, and you can look them up online because they're a very cool butterfly, and they're really tiny. We once took a picture with 5 of their chrysalids sitting on a penny, and you could still see most of the details of the penny. They're so tiny. Their wings are clear. They have almost no scales on their wings, which is what gives the butterflies their color. And so they're tiny and clear. We get them very frequently from Costa Rica, but they are sometimes a little challenging to find here in the conservatory because they are clear and small. But if you ever come and visit, we can sort of point you in the best direction of places where they might be. But it's always exciting when you see one flying in the conservatory. So Susan asks, how long does it take for the butterfly to be able to, I guess, close its wings following the emergence or being able to fly? It depends on the butterfly. The bigger the butterfly, the longer it takes for its wings to dry and be able to fly. Something like this owl butterfly you see here, it's no surprise it hasn't flown yet because its wings may still be just a little dry, even though I bet you if we gave it some encouragement it could fly. But the bigger they are, the longer it takes. The owl butterflies may take as long as 2 hours before they're really comfortable flying, although they could probably fly after about 60 to 90 minutes. Some of our smaller butterflies could probably be closer to 30 or 45 minutes before they could take flight if they had to. Kinley and Clarissa want to know which butterfly is the rarest, and that is probably the Queen Alexandria's birdwing, like I mentioned earlier. It is very rare, and it's also the largest. And for those reasons, they've been kind of popular with collectors in the past. Even though it's illegal to collect them for collections now, they were driven almost to extinction. The Homerus swallowtail, which is native to Jamaica, is also incredibly rare. It was estimated that there are fewer than 200 of them left in the wild in the world. So both of those are very large, very beautiful butterflies, but unfortunately are also pretty rare. So Vern asked, how long do the butterflies live that are in the butterfly house? Most of ours average about 3 weeks, but a few, like our long-winged butterflies that we showed earlier, can live a few months or more if they have the right pollen. And thankfully right now our horticulturists have supplied them with plants that produce lots of pollen, which is their favorite food. Our owl butterflies and blue morpho butterflies are also pretty long-lived, and some of them could easily live 2 or 3 months or even longer. So we have native wildflowers in our garden. My kids, Luna and Ian, want to know if we have butterflies native to Missouri. Yes, we have lots of butterflies native to Missouri. The official species list, I believe, is something like 100. Oh, I think it's 150 or 170 species that are considered at least semi-frequently found in Missouri or native. The reality is about 3/4 of those are probably much more common than the rest. But just in our back garden here at the Butterfly House, last year, I personally observed 23 different species of native butterflies. Anna wants to know, what is my favorite butterfly? My favorite is the Ulysses swallowtail, which is a large black and blue butterfly. Its colors look very similar to the blue morpho butterfly. It is native to Australia, and it is about the size of a small dinner plate. And they're a beautiful butterfly. And I've been doing this for 12 years, and I've only ever gotten them 3 times, so it's always very special when we do get them. All right, are there any other questions before we sign off? Vern asked, what is my favorite plant or tree here in the Butterfly House? Well, I think one of the trees here that has the coolest story behind it is our Hong Kong orchid tree. I'm going to turn this just a little bit. I'm not going to walk all the way over there, but I'll point it out. It is right up there. You can see it just above the concrete work for our waterfall. The Hong Kong orchid tree is a sterile hybrid, meaning it can't produce seeds. You can't grow it from seed. And every single one of those plants traces back to a single plant from the Hong Kong Botanical Garden. And the story goes, as it was told to me, is that nobody knows where that one tree came from. Somebody created a hybrid or a cross of two different plants, and it produces these amazing pink flowers, and it gets really tall, and you can propagate it through cuttings, which is how we got ours, but nobody knows where it came from. It's a bit of a mystery how it was found on the grounds of the Botanical Garden in Hong Kong. So that's my favorite tree. Our flowers, if we want to talk about my favorite flower, you can see over there, hopefully you can see there's purple spiked flowers called porterweed. I really like the porterweed because it is a great nectar plant for our butterflies. And our horticulturists have done a great job here of breeding a type of porterweed that has really long flowers, so it produces lots of food for our butterflies. All right, I think we got just a couple more questions and then we're going to be going. Someone asked how long do they stay in their chrysalis for? Most of them stay for about 2 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks, sometimes a little bit shorter. It is not unheard of, though, for some butterflies to spend as long as a year or more in their chrysalids. In the wild, sometimes they will spend a year in their chrysalis to avoid any drought or dry periods that could be where they're from. And so sometimes our butterflies get confused, and we've had some take over a year to come out once they're in the chrysalis. Or sorry, once they're in the emergence case. Luna wants to know if there's such a thing as a bright pink butterfly. I don't know of any offhand that are solid pink, although there are quite a few that have sort of pink stripes or light red stripes. And oftentimes those are warning predators that they taste bad. And Jonah from KC, we're going to end with your question, wants to know which butterfly is your biggest. Well, we talked about that earlier with the green birdwing. That's one of our largest, but I'm going to zoom in on this owl butterfly right here and the magnificent owl right below it. And these are two of our largest that we have. So we're going to zoom in. That'll be our final question. If you ask any other questions, I will get to them in the comments after the video. Thank you so much, everybody, for turning in. We will be going live next Thursday. We'll be inside the lab showing some of the exciting things we do in there, giving you a behind-the-scenes tour of what goes on in there, where we're breeding animals and where we have a large collection of animals that we don't always have on display. So thank you very much. This is Tad Yankoski from the Butterfly House signing off, and we'll catch you next week. Bye-bye.